What's the dumbest decision I can make? Okay, yeah, I'll do that one.
How do you think you'll respond when she starts to date, starts to go out and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's really kind of kicking your brain in the nuts for sure.
Clifford, what is going on, man? You're not the big red dog. I got that right away.
No, I've been called that quite a bit in my younger years for sure.
Was that like, did people pick on you for that one?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got Clifford the Big Red Dog and Flipper.
Oh
That
God.
might be before your time, but yeah, I think there was like some like seal or something named Flipper, so I got that one too. Then I got Cliff Clavin later, which wasn't the
Oh my
worst
God.
thing, but
Yeah. Before my time, I bet I'm older than you.
I doubt it.
I don't know. How old are you?
52.
I'm 50. Well, I'll be 50. So like we're
Okay.
close. I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
50 next year, but yeah, okay. But you look insanely young though. Like so I'm thinking like this hiatus from alcohol probably does pretty good wonders for longevity.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely
Yeah.
want if guys are going to go through the process, definitely want them to get the biggest bang for their buck, and
Yeah.
that's top of the heap as far as just looking, feeling, screwing good, having more money, just kind of a lot more active. So that's kind of what we're all about.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, hey, I joked about your name, but you're in good company because a name like Larry, growing up with that name like that, oh, you're not getting off the hook for any like, dude, the audience is sick and tired of me telling this story because I've had this podcast for 10 years, but I had a woman tell me that I went up and asked a girl out on a date when I was in college. And she looked at me and she asked me my name and I told her and she's like, no. And I'm like, what? She's like, your name's not a bedroom name. I can't, no. And I'm like, I was like literally told me she would not go out with me because of my name. I'm like, wow. But anyway,
Wow.
I was, like, oh, like where's Mo and Curly? I heard that one. Where's your brother Daryl's? I've heard that one for, anybody who's over 40's got that one. Um,
I
uh,
think at Three's Company, Larry,
Larry,
the sidekick there, that guy was awesome.
dude. And so, Clifford, at least I think is a sophisticated name. Larry, in every movie and TV show, it's always like Larry from Three's Company, or it's the pedophile who owns a tow truck, or he's like, can you imagine for a minute, like Ryan Gosling in the movie Crazy Stupid Love, right? Where he's like a total stud and he's teaching Steve Carell like how to be a good man and an attractive man, and he's going through a divorce and all that. And can you imagine if Ryan Gosling's name was Larry? Like in that movie, his name was Jacob, right? But Larry would have been like the movie might have flopped.
Yeah, he could have pulled that off, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's talk about booze vacation. I you want to hear something really, really funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got your email from your team about wanting to come on the podcast, I was like, booze vacation. I was like, does that mean like we're going on vacation and we're just drinking all the time? Like, has anyone ever confused that? Been like, oh, we're just gonna booze it up on vacation?
Just everyone is all. So yeah, no, it's a little bit of a misnomer. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm going up against, but yeah, the competition has a $10 billion, ad spend budget, using the world's most beautiful people and hawking their products. So yeah, I had to kind of put little lipstick on the pig of the idea. Actually, I originally coined it because I was taking a break for a year and my buddies were, kind of anticipating my buddies giving me some shit. I was like, no, I'm not drinking right now. I'm on a booze vacation. And it kind of like, made him laugh and chuckle. And I kind of got it, kind of didn't. And it kind of just kind of, made him laugh. And so that was kind of the impetus for that. But another funny story. One time I was in this kind of white collar networking group, and I told this guy, I'm like, oh, I got this really cool passion project that I'm doing full time now. But I'm like, yeah, it's called Booze Vacation. And she was like, and then I like told her what it was, and she was like honest, and she's like, wow, when you said that, she was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm really excited about that. And I told her it's like, oh no, it's actually a break from drinking. And she like felt something like within her going, ooh, that's bad. I don't like that. And then she's like, why did I say that? And she's having this like internal dialogue with me. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like we kind of trying to put like a little bit of a light on it. I think often guys aren't really thinking about it and processing it in meaningful ways, especially when you're a couple beers in with your buddies and so yeah, it's a way to kind of bring it up and make it kind of a fun meme. And you said you're on a break, you're on a break from alcohol, whatever. boring, but to say, hey, I'm on a booze vacation right now, and it makes it a little more fun and kind of build a community around that.
Yeah. So how did you said this started with you just taking a year, right?
Yes.
And what was the impetus for that?
Yeah, so yeah, pretty sporty guy. Played water polo, soccer, tennis in high school, all about the boys.
Oh my God,
And
that
yeah, the
is a full load.
water polo in California, it's like we
Yeah.
worked our ass off and it's kind of a work hard, play hard. So kind of the more you worked out, the more you had to party. And so yeah, we started in high school, kind of freshman year, pretty early. And yeah, had a lot of fun. And then I got a degree in nutritional science, went to college, went into corporate America, and it's kind of like it just kind of follows you around the whole time. And I was always a really kind of sporty, athletic guy, and that was my identity. And then kind of into my 30s, and into my 40s in particular, it was really starting to slip. And instead of feeling like the sporty guy, I kind of starting to feel like Al Bundy, and getting some bad blood work and some belly fat that wasn't going away. And I had was diagnosed with sleep apnea like twice, which was
Really?
yeah a really scary thing because I knew like that ain't good if you're not sleeping well. And the CPAP machine didn't work, but yeah, I was pretty horrified by that whole thing. And so I was actively kind of turning over every stone. I had time, money, and resources, and a degree in nutrition. And so I tried countless diets and exercise regimes and supplements and breathing exercises, you name it, kind of everything but the drinking. And then a buddy turned me on to an Audible book, Alcohol Lied to Me by Craig Beck. It's like a 4-hour listen,
Oh wow.
really entertaining and really compelling. And I listened to it in like, a day and a half. It's only 4 hours, like watching a game and stuff. And I listened to it. I was like, oh crap, I got to take like a real break. Because me and my buddies have always addressed our alcohol use by cutting back or taking off dry January or something like that. But it never worked. And yeah, the science comes out on Andrew Huberman's podcast, way later. But yeah, it's probably the typical dude needs probably at least 3 to 6 months off the sauce to kind of rewire their neural circuitry and get their brain back to factory settings, let alone kind of learn how to have fun and be active and social without it. And so when I took that year break, it was really transformative because again, I was doing a lot of healthy habit protocols on top of that, but they were just not working. And I was working really diligently and getting really crappy results. And so when I took that break, everything was just easier and better. And I just really felt like I found that fountain of youth and the key to happiness. And it was killer. And it was like later in my 40s, where I'm like where most people are mailing it in, and I'm like really picking up speed, and my performance and look and feel were through the roof. And I was super pumped on it. So I was just, sharing it with some buddies. I'm like, and all my buddies love drinking. And I'm like, hey guys, like I wasn't even telling them not to drink. I'm like, check out this book. It's pretty entertaining. You might get a kick out of it. Who knows? And like my buddies were like, no, that's cool, man. I'm not gonna check out that book, And it's like, and it's like, really? It's like I couldn't even have the conversation. And I knew, being, in tune with my body and knowing how the guys roll after drinking with them for 30 years, I knew exactly where this was headed, and it was nowhere good. It was a very predictive model. A lot of guys are picking up belly fat and, high blood pressure in their 30s, and then, add some additional wear and tear, some more responsibilities, more alcohol use, more sedentary lifestyle, starts precipitating more chronic disease states in your 40s and 50s. Once the shit hits the fan, it's like up to your doctor and pharmacist and checkbook. And I didn't want anything for that for my buddies. And so I'm like, man, this isn't going to end well. And somebody's got to be the asshole talking about this. So that's Booze Vacation was born with that. So I've been kind of talking some shit ever since, and yeah, getting some really cool results.
And what did you say the name of that book was?
Alcohol Lied to Me by Craig Beck.
Alcohol Lied to Me.
Yeah,
Um,
the dude's like a British broadcaster, and he drank a couple bottles of wine, and just really compelling kind of story. But yeah, he really nailed it. And like any dude that listens to that will, yeah, think twice. He just did a really nice job. So I leveraged that to take a year off, and that was really transformational.
oh my gosh, over 3,000 reviews on this book. That's crazy. And you said it's like a 4 hour like read.
Four
It's
hour
like
listen on Audible. Yeah, it's
so
speed up to
for our
one and a
listen,
quarter
yeah.
speed, and you can just tear through it.
Wow, we're gonna put this in the show notes for the guys. Just if you guys have any interest in checking out this book, we'll put it in the show notes for you. Um, so how and I don't know if I caught the year you actually did this. So how long's it been?
Yeah, I was an early adopter. Yeah, it was right before my 46th birthday when I took my 1 year booze vacation. And
Wow.
so Yeah, and I'd kick the shit out of myself pretty good just by socially drinking and the diet and lifestyle that kind of gets eroded by that, the crappy sleep, the higher stress. And so yeah, I had some cleaning up to do. But yeah, I've kind of able to really get and really peak performance on my 50th birthday. We went and surfed 10-foot waves in Nicaragua with a couple buddies. And so yeah, I think it's really about, if you want what the beer commercial promises, you kind of have to figure out how to learn how to enjoy life without it, because you're just not going to be able to restore the wear and tear by the time, men of success, by the time they get into their 30s and 40s, that are grinding on their business or, in their careers. Just really, you're going to have too much stiff headwinds when you're actively dysregulating these key systems of health with regular alcohol use, because it's just so impactful when it comes to your sleep, your diet, your fitness, your brain health, your hormones, your gut health, the size of your prefrontal cortex shrinking. Like I could go on and
Oh,
on, but
really?
yeah,
I did not know that. So
oh,
it just,
it's a total shit show.
I
Total
mean,
shit show.
everyone knows that alcohol kills brain cells and it's not good for your brain. I've never heard that before though. Is like, so it actually shrinks the prefrontal cortex?
Yes. So yeah,
Whoa.
here's some fun facts. So even like 3 or 4 servings of alcohol, and you could have 3 servings of alcohol in one cocktail, one
Oh
strong
yeah.
port cocktail. So if you're doing that regularly, and again, most dudes that are drinking are having 5, 10, 15 drinks pretty easily per week on, for a while. So this is what you're going to rewire your neural circuitry for your baseline normal, just even when you're not drinking, is higher stress, higher anxiety levels, lowered mood, and lack of discipline and impulse control. So that's like your new tool bag of like your lowered states, stressed out, and not making very good long-term decisions. It's also shrinking your brain. So yeah, it's really kind of kicking your brain in the nuts for sure.
I did not know that. I mean, obviously we knew that it's not good for your brain. I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
it
and
makes a lot of
and again, it's going to take 3+ months to get that back to baseline normal. So in the meantime, your stress levels, your cortisol is like pumping at higher levels. So your baseline levels are a lot higher stress, which sucks.
So, back to this prefrontal cortex. This one really, really, I think is intriguing to me. And the reason being is because I mean, this is like the operation. This is like this is the operating system of our brain. So,
Yes.
when it comes to that, like, what are some other symptoms that we're experiencing with a shrinking prefrontal cortex that most people might not even realize?
Just basic lack of discipline and impulse control, a lot of short-term thinking, and oftentimes it's around, having more drinks, having other vices, or a lot of processed foods. And so, it's not always, you're not going to die. A lot of guys aren't going to die of cirrhosis of the liver, but they're going to die of metabolic dysfunction and cardiac events and cancers and diabetes that are spurred on by a lot of excess sugar, a lot of poor diet choices. And sure, the brain's super important, but what else is super important? They also call it the second brain. It has more nerve functions, is your gut health. And so alcohol is also super harmful there. It's completely inflaming the liver that is responsible for like 500 functions, like maximizing testosterone, like ridding the body of excess estrogen. So a lot of important things for dudes. And regular alcohol use will cause a leaky gut. So it's basically an autoinflammation where basically unprocessed, undigested food is going out into your body, and then your body's needing to attack it. So a lot of aches and pains, and yeah, a lot of opportunities for cancer and muscle strains and injuries. So yeah, it's a lot of bad stuff.
Jeez, man. I mean, I knew alcohol was bad. I mean, I've had other folks on the show that talk about going alcohol free and never this much detail though. That's really fascinating. Like, do you think if most people knew the detrimental effects like to this degree, do you think most people would still, hello, how are you? Do you think, okay, well, I'll give you a hug. You always got to pause for a hug, you know?
Good looking boy.
He's my youngest. He's my 8-year old. Thank you though. But do you think most people, if they knew this, like if this was top of mind, do you think most people still drink? Or do you think people would be like, ah, whatever, I'm still gonna drink?
It depends on the dude. It depends on the guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think, it's ultimately about what do you want and how long do you want to keep it. And if you want stuff, you have to have good performance. And if you want to enjoy it and if you want to keep it for a while, you have to have good health. And so, it's what do you want and how long you want to keep it is kind of
Yeah.
what it boils down to. I think a lot of dudes want more testosterone. I think, we're at a testosterone crisis. Like it's been the lowest it's been in 50 years. The water supply, the food supply is horrible. People are heavier than ever, and fat is really good at converting testosterone to estrogen. Alcohol is totally trashes testosterone levels. It totally trashes your sleep, where you're restoring and optimizing your hormone levels. So it totally trashes growth hormone. When again, baseball players are risking losing tens of millions of dollars to juice up on a little extra growth hormone, and you can cut your growth hormone by 50% by a couple beers. So it's like
Wow.
it's just kind of like, what do you want, what kind of performance do you want, and how hard do you want to work for it. You want it to be easy or you want it to be hard. And
Yeah.
so you really, again, I'm not anti-alcohol, but yeah, I just want guys to connect the dots, and ultimately you're better served if you can learn how to have fun without it, and yeah, maybe figure out a different protocol than just kind of going big every weekend.
Exactly. And that was my thing. So I didn't drink often, but when I did drink, normally I would drink pretty responsible, but like years ago, like I'd go hard. Like, oh, it's Friday. I don't even want to wake up tomorrow, right? Like I'm talking like 10, 15 years ago. I would like, and then like after you hit 40, you're like, hangover sounds absolutely horrible to me. Like, so then you go like to like two or three drinks, when you're out on a date night with your wife. But I found that even those two or three drinks, I'd feel like hell the next day. Like, and I wasn't necessarily like hungover, like, oh my God, I have a headache, I'm puking. Like, I can't remember the last time I threw up over alcohol, but um, like you just don't feel good. Just to, I'd love to share something with you, and I would love to get your just opinion on it, to give your opinion back to the audience on just kind of my experience with this, if you're cool with that.
Absolutely.
So, back in July, I haven't drank since July 8th, 2024, whenever people are picking up this episode. So as I'm talking to you today, it's been 115 days. And it's for me, it started, we did a cruise. We had never done a cruise for our family. Like, so we were like, let's go on a cruise. We went on a cruise and I drank every day. And I can't remember the last time I drank every day, like 8 days consecutively, and I didn't drink a ton. I averaged 3 to 5 drinks per day, and that was like, you kind of start like around, I don't know, like when you're on a cruise, it's like lunchtime, and then you
Yeah.
stop in the evening. So like it would be like 3 to 5 over, like, call it like an 8 hour period, right? So I never got like hammered drunk or anything like that. One day I did get pretty buzzed because I went a little overboard on drinks. But what I noticed was every day that I drank, I felt progressively worse and worse, and mentally, physically. Um, and the thing that took it all away was if I started drinking again the next day. And it became like this perpetual cycle. I'm like, oh my God, I don't feel good. Like, I think I'm gonna go have a drink. Like, and by the time I got off that boat, I actually took a selfie of my face. I should probably put it in the show notes. It's disgusting. It is disgusting. My eyes were so puffy. My face was completely blown up. I was so inflamed. I left for that cruise at 175 pounds. The day I came back, I was 191.
Damn.
Yeah. And then
Some buffet lines in there too, probably.
so I was really good about food. I really was,
Okay.
until like, I really want to talk about this whole like making really bad impulsive choices with bad foods when you drink, because I think that one is key. And we'll get there in a second. But I found that my willpower to eat clean drastically declined every day we were on that boat. So I think it was like the last 3 days, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna eat what I want. Like, I'm whatever, right? I've never do
Yep.
this. I always eat clean. I'm just gonna eat like crap. I got off that boat and my body like was like, what the hell did you do to me? Like, so 191 pounds. And as soon as I cut out alcohol and went back to eating normally, I dropped 10 pounds like that. Like in
Yep.
7 days, 10 pounds. And I was water and inflammation and salt and
Sure.
carbs and all that. But in 115 days later, dude, there's zero desire. Like I went out to dinner last night with my brother and he was drinking a vodka martini, which was kind of like what my go-to drink. And I'm like watching
Yeah,
him drink this and I'm like, I'm like gagging like inside. I'm like, I can't even, I couldn't even stomach that right now. Cause all I think about is that cruise ship of drinking stuff like that. But
right.
the 115 days, one thing I've noticed is so my body fat went from 12 to 5.4, like
Damn.
ridiculous, like results. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I did a lot of other things too, but the mental clarity that I had, the productivity that I had, the restorative sleep that I had, the fact that I wasn't irritable with my kids nearly as much. I had more patience with everything. Like I was just like, and that's why when my wife asked me that last night, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know when, if I'll go back to it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But for right now, it's a no. But I'm just curious. Like those were some of the big changes that I saw. But the big thing too was I have definitely noticed when I drink, suddenly like food I would never touch becomes the most appetizing thing on the planet. I don't know why that is. Maybe you can
Yeah, it
shed
kind of
some light
just
on
it
that.
just kind of wires the brain, I think, to, and again, I don't want to sound like a grandpa or something like that, but just what's the dumbest decision I can make? Okay, yeah, I'll do that one. It's kind of ultimately, you think about, your misadventures in your teens and 20s with it. It's like, well, those stories all start with the same thing. It's like, what stupid shit can we do? All right, let's
Right.
do it. And yeah, let's go get that pizza at 2 in the morning. And but yeah, no, and it's funny, I think honestly, I think your perspective, you're a little bit more intuitive with your body and you have been taking care of your body. And so I think that really helps the cause. But the reality is, I think most guys that are regularly drinking, maybe not as diligent with their working out and they're eating clean, they're easily and not sleeping well, stressed out, schedules are off, not very productive, not in a good groove with their family. They're probably at about 60%, is
Wow.
what you're dealing with. And so you're probably at more like 80, 85%, 90%, whatever. And so but yeah, you can notice that delta. And so I think that's a big problem, like guys never want to address their drinking, is because yeah, like you said, it works great when you're regularly drinking it. You keep drinking it because it's like, it's going to take the edge off, but what caused that edge in the first place? And so there's a lot of subtle and not so subtle negative feedback loops that you get stuck in, across the board. And it's not just your stress and your brain and your gut health, but yeah, it's your emotions, it's your mood, it's your blood sugar, it's your metabolic health and what you crave, it's your schedules or lack thereof, it's your poor sleep patterns. And you mentioned your mental clarity. Sleep is another huge one for your brain health. You're going to be consolidating memory, you're going to be recharging your emotional and emotional resilience. So yeah, how you kind of react to stressors and how you handle adversity. There's a lot of stuff that you're just not going to do when you're regularly drinking. You have like two drinks, two servings, 28% less sleep, three servings, 39% less quality sleep. You get an Aura sleep ring tracker, like just across the board, there's like 20 different metrics that are totally host. Your heart rate variability, your resting heart rate, your respiratory rate, your deep sleep, your REM sleep, everything just goes to the toilet. And
Wow.
so we have you know, when you're talking about earlier about if guys really knew what they were doing, would they still do it? But yeah, we have a really cool, in our resource section of our website at Boost Vacation, we have a really nice, compelling report about the significance and importance of sleep on just leading a kick-ass life and all the critical things it does, and just how badly even small amounts of alcohol use screw that up, and how that, once you kind of go down that rabbit hole, how that's really just kind of setting you up for, you know, fall when it comes to just your hormone levels, your look and feel, your energy, your mood, your drive, your performance, your follow through. So your energy levels. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to get these things right as much as
Yeah.
possible. And it's just not happening with regular alcohol use is the reality.
You know, it's really fascinating. Like I said, I've never heard like all these different things at once, right? I think we kind of hear them one at a time, like in a silo. Oh, alcohol's bad for your brain, right? Oh no,
Yeah.
it's actually really bad for your brain because it makes your prefrontal cortex shrink and it does this and it does that. Oh, and it also is terrible for your gut health. It also doesn't give you restorative sleep. Also gives you cravings, messes with your blood, like all these different things. But when you combine them all, have you ever seen the movie Maverick? You know, the second Top Gun.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the visualization that I that came up for me as you're describing this is like I think when we view alcohol, at least I know my friends and people like when we view alcohol and we view the negative impact of alcohol, we are always thinking about like the hangover the next morning. And that's it. Like that's kind of where we stop, right? It's like this nuclear bomb of a hangover. It's like one bomb, boom, there it is. What you just described is there's this part in Maverick where they're going to the mission, right? And they're actually headed to the mission and like 30 Tomahawk missiles fly over them to go bomb the runway of the enemy. And you see this pow, 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 right? It just annihilates the runway. When you're talking about all of these bad things that happen, it took me from, like, oh, it's a hangover to like, holy shit, it's blah, 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 blah. It's all these things that happen. So it's really telling. And you're actually solidifying me more towards that. No, I don't want to drink again versus like maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've engineered a solution that's very compelling, very needed in our, about a million dudes could really use this. And it's a really cool solution because it's embedded and gamified in how guys roll and what we've been doing and what we want. And so
So wait a second.
um
You gamify this?
yeah, I mean,
Oh, you
yeah,
got me now.
I mean,
It's
dude, it's like I got up at 5:30 in the morning when it freezing balls, jump in a pool and get yelled at, play water polo. And I didn't do it because there was accountability. There was expectations on a team, so when you're on vacation, you're not drinking, and you're doing other shit. And we have, a bunch of healthy habit protocols, and it's really about a land grab and getting as much as you possibly can and stacking as many wins as possible when it comes to your blood work and your performance, your sex life, your business, you're good with your family. And so, yeah, it's kind of re-engineering what guys want to, really maximize health and performance and options.
so it's not just about the booze vacation. It's about also inserting these other really fantastic things.
Yeah. So at a high level, guys that drink because it's fun or it's a reward system or it's how they relax, whatever it is, there's some positive association. There's an operating system there that's actively eroding key systems of health: your sleep, your diet, your fitness, your mindset, your brain. And so we take away this reward system, and you have dysregulated systems and poor health, and your brain screwed up. And now you're probably just going to hit more vices or try to drink more coffee or eat more processed food. So in order to kind of solve that equation, we had to kind of like figure out a bunch of things. And it's really kind of just at the core of it, it's just a simple health protocol. We know exactly how guys are dysregulating these key systems of health, and we know exactly how to get them back online as quickly as possible. And we know how to like make it fun and get guys, in the best shape of their lives as quickly as possible by kind of knowing how guys roll.
That's awesome, man. My gosh. So I love the fact that you make this, you make this so diverse with the different things we can do. Was the motivation to do this like, and because I mean, I think anybody could have like, there's another, there's a few other obviously platforms out there that go alcohol free. I don't know for a fact if they implement the good habits or if they just focus on eliminating alcohol. But what I'm hearing from you is like we're not only like eliminating this habit, but we're actually replacing it with the better ones, correct?
Yes.
Gold. I mean, that's absolute
Yeah.
gold. What have you found? So I want to talk about like how your program works very, very specifically and detailed. But I also want to know what are the main objections that you hear um, when people are curious about this? Like, so for instance, because I think we'll speak to a lot of the guys who are telling themselves a story that they can't do this, right? Because like I'll be at a party or whatever, and this happened recently, and I won't be drinking. And they're like, are you not drinking? And I'll be like, no, I'm just not drinking. And they're like, why? And I was like, and normally I would say I was like, oh, I'm doing 75 hard. And they're like, oh, I could never not do, I could never do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, I could never go to a social gathering and not drink. Like, it's almost like it's not even fathomable, right? How could I have, and they'll ask me like, how do you have fun? And I just tell them, I'm like, it's shocking, but I have more fun. I was like, I don't know. I always felt like I always had fun when I drank usually, but there was a certain amount of guilt that also went with it.
No, so I think you're kind of hitting on what are some of the core objections of guys considering taking a break. And yeah, that is a big part of our job is to get kind of guys some education and awareness on why they may want to. But in your instance, again, I think it's a very predictive model. These guys are not at elevate, they're not themselves, right? And so the typical pattern is guys are going kind of big on the weekends with tolerance. They need a little bit more. The prefrontal cortex will shut down after 4 or 5 drinks. And so you're not even processing it anymore. So you're just kind of throwing them down the gullet. And so, yeah, they're binging, they're doing some pretty serious damage. And that rabbit hole goes pretty deep. And so when you get to your work week, you're frazzled, you're off balance, and you're going to be dragging ass. You're going to be very unproductive. You're going to be stressed because you're not getting shit done. And it's going to be a pretty bad week. And then the weekend's going to roll around and you're going to repeat that. So you're going to kind of be stuck in these systems. You've rewired your brain. So you're just in a lot of negative states. And so, you know, learning how to have fun when you're in all these negative states is pretty hard to do. And so that's why you kind of have to play offense, not defense, not take these short ineffective breaks, but take these longer breaks. And you have to know why you're doing them, and you have to know what you want out of it. And so you have to know, you have to take a good look at your health. You have to take a good look at your performance in your body composition, your blood work, and really kind of throw it all out on the table and realize what am I going to get as far as outcomes if I keep playing dumb with my alcohol use, and what am I going to get if I take this vacation and start making some small simple changes here. So yeah, there's a lot of, I hate to use the word education, but yeah, guys are just so clued out. They just have no clue what's going on. And if they did, yeah, most of the time they're pretty horrified. But and we're targeting people, social drinkers, and that's a little bit of a gray area, right? Like some people have more predisposition, some people are more problem drinkers, but there's a lot of guys that can easily pull this off. But yeah, it's a foreign concept for sure. So that's why we kind of, the way we message the concept, and we're pretty straight and direct, and ultimately, yeah, really backing into optimal health and performance and flexibility. And since we aren't targeting alcoholics, we're not pushing sobriety. There's other tools and tricks in the bag that you can employ, but alcohol is really the master key that you have to figure out, and you have to get away from long enough to get your brain back, so you can get back to 100% and start asking the right guy. And then, like you said, like when you get there, you're like, oh shit, this seems really dumb to go back to. And so that's what happens when you get to 100%. You get to these higher states that you're not looking to constantly change.
Yeah, I hear you. What are some of the success stories that have come out of this that have been really meaningful for you?
Yeah, anybody that does it, everybody loses weight. Probably the guy that lost the most, he's 6'5", uh,
Oh,
307 pounds. He's at like 230 now. And yeah, this dude's a stud.
oh
He's
my
like
gosh.
he's the biggest private wealth planner in all of in all of San Jose. So he's managing billions of dollars. He's been carrying around this extra weight, some pretty sketchy blood work, completely, kind of stuck with, couldn't really get the weight down. Just shredded the weight, got strong. His performance is out the roof. He's just crushing it. So that's a big one. Um, and yeah, guys, just picking up old hobbies, playing, recording music, 3xing their commercial real estate business, losing the weight, kind of just, declaring they're on permanent vacation. Probably about 25% of the guys that start a vacation just keep rocking it. But ultimately it's about, just giving this gift of a golden opportunity to, really restore your health and get to that 100% while you still can. It's a limited time offer only. Unfortunately, a lot of my peers, in their 40s, and as they're picking up, more belly fat and more prescriptions and CPAP machines, these are pretty major warning signs that shit's going wrong. And if you don't address it, you can go play with your checkbook and your doctor and pharmacist, and it's going to be a lot of side effects. It's going to be a lot of misery. It's not going to be very effective, and it's not going to be very fun. So we prefer our own dog food for sure.
Yeah, I
That's
can see.
free. That's free, highly effective, very quick, and relatively easy.
Do you do you believe I want to talk about non-alcoholic beers and and mocktails just in general. So I have found like I'm really loving some of these NA beers that we have. We actually partner with Athletic Brewing, which I love their beer. Like they put a
Yeah.
cheat code in that thing. It tastes so good. It tastes, I'm shocked it's non-alcoholic. But and the mocktails and stuff like that. I'm really interested to hear your view on this. So I have a good friend of mine who's been sober for 6 years, and he was pretty bad, pretty like it was. I'm almost to the point where if he would have kept drinking the way he was, he definitely wouldn't be here. There's no way. Um, but when I'm around him, I'm like, hey, you want an NA beer? He's like, no, 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 slippery slope for me. I won't have anything that even tastes remotely like alcohol because it's too much of a switch for me. And it just kind of got me curious of how many other people out there that abstain from alcohol and they also abstain from NA, like NA beers or mocktails or whatever, just because they don't even want to be tempted. Do you encourage people to drink non-alcoholic beverages while they're on this, or do
Yeah,
you say stay
absolutely.
away from both?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned that. I think that's pretty common. I had a buddy that was an alcoholic, goes to AA, and yeah, he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, nothing, there's no way I would do an NA beer. So, but yeah, that's not our target. So the guys that we target, yeah, we definitely encourage NA beers because they taste really good. There's some muscle memory there, and once you don't have the scratch and the itch anymore, you're not missing anything, and there's a little bit of muscle memory, and you get a little bit of a social buzz off of them. So yeah, we're all about it. Yeah, nicotine
Social
gum.
buzz?
Yeah, like, yeah, there's, if you've been drinking a beer for 20 years and then all of a sudden, you're at a party, you're not really paying attention, you taste something that tastes exactly like a beer, like, yeah, you get a little buzz from that for sure. I do.
So we like social buzz is in like,
Or kind of just you get like a little bit of a muscle memory buzz, like it's kind of set and setting, right? Like you're used to
yeah.
drinking with your buddies at a party, and you kind of have a little bit of an elevated state, and it's very similar. It tastes the same, and so yeah, I get a physiological kind of enjoyment out of that. It's not like whatever the deadening of alcohol hitting my system, but yeah, I get a buzz.
It's really interesting. I get that too. I didn't even realize it until you said that. But like, we have people over, I crack open one of my athletics and I'm drinking like I do. I feel more social. And maybe it's because of that muscle memory thing. Like I feel like I'm part of the crowd, in a way, I guess. And
Yeah.
and like it's almost just as easy for me to have conversations versus like if I had a glass of water in my hand, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
And
never
drink
heard of
drink
that.
what you enjoy, but yeah, there's some really killer NA beers and killer mocktails for sure. So yeah,
Yeah.
that makes it kind of the perfect crime.
How many people has Booze Vacation helped since inception?
Couple hundred,
Couple
couple
hundred.
hundred. Yeah. And we're talking with VCs and some heavy hitters to get a couple 100,000 down the pike. So yeah, we're gonna kick this up a lot of notches here. We're on the cusp of some big things.
I would imagine so. How does and I know you went over how the program works and all that, but like this is a community too, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna build an online community for now. We've just really been kind of rolling up our sleeves and working on a lot of the content and a lot of the resources and a lot of the email funnels and a lot of the healthy habit checklist. And yeah, so it's a freemium offer. So a guy can hop in, they can get resources, they can take our quiz. Our quiz is the you versus booze quiz, and you can kind of just take a really quick 2 minute quiz and really see how it's affecting your diet, your manliness, your sleep, your health, your mental health, and get a really quick assessment. And then from there, we'll get you a bunch of other resources. And then if guys want to take a vacation, we'll give them a free playbook and we'll give them check-ins, and then they can also do individual coaching if they have kind of maybe more money than time and really want to get quick results, so they can work directly with us.
Got it. Okay. Very,
Yeah.
very good. This is
Yeah.
awesome, man. Uh,
Yeah.
what haven't we talked about?
Oh, well, I'll throw a bone at you about being being a dad, and you know before the
Oh yeah,
vacation
it's a
and after
dad
the
show.
vacation. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, and you talk, I saw, you talk about being present and engaged, and yeah, just your energy. And yeah, that's heavily affected with even a few drinks. And I think when alcohol is a reward system, sometimes, the family time isn't as valuable as the bro time, and so it can really warp a lot of good, potential engagements and opportunities. And yeah, not guilty as charged. When I was regularly drinking, yeah, I was kind of like, let's get the kids to bed, crack some beers, throw on a movie, numb out. And so yeah, it's definitely made me a way better dad and just way more present and engaged. So that's another big epiphany that I mentioned. But yeah, again, we're just talking in general. It's a really big opportunity to, yeah, get yourself at 100%, stack a bunch of wins, get in a good groove, and then kind of make the judgment call from there. But yeah, I think it's a big deal.
I hear you, man. I have seen those things myself, and I have friends who haven't drank in a long time, and they say they sing the same notes, which is like, I'm more present. I'm actually more engaged. Like I'm more patient. I'm less irritable. Like I feel better, right? When you feel better, I think we're going to operate better. I do want to ask you a couple of questions since you are a girl dad. Okay. You got a
Okay.
10 and a 13-year-old?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 9 and 13. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, 9 and 13. Okay.
yeah, close
So,
enough.
what what is really, really important for you as you raise these girls, um, as far as raising a confident, strong, loving, amazing woman?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I just try to, keep connection and keep fun and love them. And like I said, I'm kind of a health nut, and we have some food battles about, hey, eat this and make sure you're eating protein, and get off the chips. And so kind of just balancing my ego and all this knowledge that I have with just, making sure that a majority of the interactions are ideally, positive and loving. And so that could be kind of tricky when you're kind of this driven business guy. So yeah, I'm still working on it. I got a great partner. My wife's really good about that. But yeah, still work in progress. But yeah, just
Let's
love them.
let's go a little deeper on this one because I think all guys love their daughters, right? But
Yeah,
but how do you connect with them? Like how do you have conversations with them as a dad? I mean, they're kind of at this tween, sort of like 9ish,
yeah.
10ish, and then a teenager. So these are the years where I know for a lot of guys it gets a little it gets a little harder to navigate.
It does. Yeah. And yeah, definitely slipping with my 13-year-old a little bit. Yeah, kind of, climbing up a little bit more. In my 9-year-old, yeah, kind of typically when we're reading and snuggling at bed before she goes to bed or something like that. So, but yeah, you just kind of engage them in activities they like, and yeah, you catch them when they're ready to talk, and just enjoy it and be present and enjoy it while they're online.
That's cool. And then is your 13-year-old, are boys like starting to like text and call yet?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And if they did, they would be dead.
She's a fresh 13, but yeah, I'm gonna play dumb on that as long as I can.
Oh, that's yeah. My wife, like we had this conversation. It was last week. We were at my son's football game, and you see all these high school girls around and like what they're wearing. And my wife nudged me, and she's like, "What would you say like?" if we had a daughter and she was dressed like that and she pointed at this girl, I was like, let me just say for the record, our teenage daughter would hate me and would constantly complain about me to you. I was like, I think God knew what he was doing by giving us boys because our daughter would hate me. And she'd be like, can you please tell dad to stop like telling me what I can and can't wear and stop saying like this or that. And like, I think I would be so protective because like I knew like, when I was in high school, like, and I was dating and I was a scumbag and, like, I'm like, like I'll never forget being on this retreat with a bunch of other people I went to high school with. And there was one of our teachers that posed a question of like, let's fast forward your, 20 years from now, you have a daughter who's your age. Would you want her to date you? And I literally was like a deer in the headlight. I'm like, oh my God, I need to protect if I have a daughter, I need to protect her from me, like guys like me. But like, I'm curious about that too. So like having a daughter that, call it maybe 3 or 4 years from dating, 2 years from dating, whatever that is. Um, what, how do you think you'll respond when she starts to date, starts to go out and stuff like that? Like what type of things will you have conversations with her about?
Um, yeah. Yeah, honestly, I like to be present and I like to like not, kind of just be in the now. And so it's a little bit of a cop out. But yeah, I'm sure as we get there, if the connection's there, if, the the rituals are there that yeah I'm creating somebody and obviously just kind of seeing her as her dad interact with her mom and I think my mom my wife is reads a ton and is pretty on top of that stuff. She's a speech therapist, so yeah, she kind of handles a little bit more of that stuff. But yeah, I think it's just kind of being open and level and present and yeah, just kind of take it as it comes. But yeah, definitely, encourage, autonomy and her doing what she feels is right and, kind of empowering her and hopefully giving her the skills that she needs to navigate that stuff. And obviously for now, we're like, she doesn't have a phone yet, and stuff like that. So I think social media and just kind of some basic blocking and tackling around some of that stuff that's pretty corrosive is a good starting point for now.
100%. I saw this thing on Instagram where a guy asked, when is it appropriate? What's the appropriate age for your daughter to have a phone? And there was a guy that commented when you're done with her childhood. Cause like that's what
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
when her
yeah,
childhood is over, like
right.
that's right.
Yeah,
But no, this has been great, man. I want to make sure that the guys can find you over at I think it's boozevacation.com, correct?
correct. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and backslash quiz. So definitely take our quiz. But yeah, we have a ton of resources and testimonials and success stories. And yeah, really worked hard on the messaging and a lot of great content and a lot of good information to check out. So yeah, definitely check out Bees Vacation and backslash quiz. But yeah, that'll pop up. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff to check out. So please do.
Very good, man. Very, very good. Awesome. Well, guys, not to worry. We're gonna have all the links in the show notes. I'm even gonna put a link in there too for the book that Clifford mentioned today too, which is I mean, obviously go grab that too. It's a 4 hour listen and it'll probably
Yep,
change
then
change.
which is also on our resources page.
Oh,
So
sweet.
yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yep.
we won't put that Amazon link in there. It'll just be there in your
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah. We have that and the Andrew Huberman podcast on alcohol. So yeah, we have in our resources section. Yeah, Bees Vacation / resources.
Got it. Well, guys, just go
Yeah.
there. But
Yep.
we'll put all the social media links and everything we talked about today, as well as the quiz, the resources, all that good stuff. Head on over to the dadedge.com/Friday 182 for this show. Again, the dadedge.com/182. Clifford, this was awesome. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. Thanks for creating Booze Vacation. And thanks for sharing a bunch of things that I know I didn't know, and I'm sure the audience didn't know either about some of the devastating effects of alcohol that you shared today.
Yeah. It's a pretty heavy tax that guys don't realize they're paying. And over time that adds up for
Yes, it
sure.
does, for sure. Awesome, brother. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it.